Hello everyone and welcome to another For Honor analysis, and today we're starting a new series of videos in the analysis that I humbly call the story analysis. See, I've had a few folks suggest I do a playthrough of the campaign and discuss different aspects of it from a historical and literary playthrough. As a history lover and a novelist, I love analyzing both history and storytelling, so this will be a lot of fun. And I also want to point out that I know a lot of other people have done playthroughs of this game too, but I felt that I wanted to add my 2 cents to it because, well, I might have something to add that no one else did, or I might be able to reaffirm or add new context to something. And it's nice to look back at the story mode since it hasn't changed at all since the original release, and this is both a good and bad thing. It's good because it's nice to kind of see what the game looked like raw in comparison to what it is now, but bad because don't be surprised if I make a few rookie errors while playing because I'm used to the new updated character moveset, not the old stuff. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I hope y'all enjoy. So let's start with the first chapter of the Knights, Warlords and Cowards. So let's hear the opening bit.
I am Warlord of the Blackstone Legion. In that year, I sent one of my commanders, Holden Cross, to punish a betrayer. There was a warden there, in the way. There are many wardens. This one would prove unique.
Okay, interesting setup, and let's go ahead and dive right in.
That day that I learned I was working for the wrong warlord.
Hey, Daubeny.
Hervice Daubeny.
Defend the walls!
The day that I
Like they worked
Blackstone
before?
Legion. And Holden Cross.
Come out!
Daubeny! It doesn't have to be like this!
Ladders, we'll talk about that.
Keep them off the walls!
I was going to do that anyway, sir, thanks.
My lord.
Break it down!
Break it down!
Break it down! Break! Ooh, that's a cap ram, cool. I'll talk about that too. And that's why you don't use ladders, kids.
I am a warden. I had a job to do. I need to get moving.
Okay, so let's start by talking about a few things. So castle sieges are very complex systems. No one castle siege is going to look exactly the same. It takes a lot of work because castles are designed to keep people out and to protect people inside. I know that sounds obvious, but a lot of movies and books and comics make some sieges look just so simple. But let's look at what's going on here. So the first thing we saw was Holden Cross has his team pull out a ladder. Ladders were used, they were used in sieges. But the problem with ladders is that they're easily knocked down, and you can easily dump things on the people climbing up them. And common things were stuff like boiling water, quicklime, which is an acid, or, even really hot sand. Now, some people think, oh, well, you could dump boiling oil on them. Oil was a resource, and you really didn't want to dump all of that, so usually that wasn't dumped, but that didn't mean things couldn't be dropped on the climbers. So ladders really weren't effective and were more dangerous than anything else. The only way a ladder is effective is if you have a bunch of them and you just surround the castle with these ladders and have a bunch of people climb up them at the same time. That way you overwhelm the defenders. Other things that we see is, if we look out there, we see that capped ram coming up. Rams like that were actually common in the medieval age, and they died out in the late medieval age when siege cannons became more popular. The capped ram means that it has a metal or iron front to it, or face, which made it even better at breaking down stuff. So that is really cool. There's no roof to it though, which means that it could be fired on by burning arrows or by torches or something like that, so not a good idea. Now we also have some catapults here. These catapults are bigger than what you would usually see catapults being in the medieval age, and they're also firing rocks that were much bigger than their style would throw. Catapults like these would usually not do much damage to a wall or solid structure. Usually what they were designed to do is launch these things over the wall and try to hit defenders on the other side. There are even reports of people firing dead animal carcasses over to try to spread plague, or burning tar to fire over to try to burn any provisions that they have. Because the best siege tactic out there, the number one best siege tactic you can do, is just wait. Because the biggest weakness of a castle is you can't leave it if it's surrounded by the enemy. So eventually people start starving. They start running out of food and resources. So literally what you can do is you can just wait and let them starve themselves out. The downside to this is if the people in the castle have allies outside the castle and they're coming to come save you and relieve you, then that can be a problem for the attackers, because soon someone's going to show up. If you want a good example of this, look at the Siege of Gondor in the third Lord of the Rings movie, when Rohan and the Ghost Squadron shows up to save Gondor from the orcs and the armies of Mordor. Even though the castle was being felled, Rohan and Mordor showing up turned the tide. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and keep going. So we got some story stuff here. That looks like Holden Cross down there. Let's see if we can't get a better look at him. Hello. There we go.
Holden Cross. My second in command and my most stalwart ally. Holden is a practical man of limited ambition, but of endless talent. We are fortunate to have him.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find as many of these as I can. I don't remember where all of them are, but I'll be looking for them throughout. Oh, there's one.
That fort had been controlled by 10 warlords in 10 years.
That's not a good record.
Daubeny was just the most recent. He joined the Blackstone Legion and then tried to leave us. That would not stand unpunished.
Okay, fair enough. And there's Daubeny himself.
Hervice Daubeny. Blackstone for a single season. And then he thought to turn away from us. To take from us. That would prove his undoing.
And a long, long line of a bunch of memes.
The Blackstones were coming up the east wall.
Okay, first of all, before I click on this thing, look at that castle. That's exactly the way you want a castle to be set up, because notice how it's on a highly elevated point and on the top of a cliff. It makes it harder to siege from that location. So that's where you want to put your castles and fortifications.
Ashfeld. I was born here, out in the scrublands. 20 years ago, the Iron Legion had been on the verge of losing it to the Vikings entirely. Now, my Blackstone Legion had taken it back.
So we're setting up this world as being that the Knights have been losing, but now the Blackstone is turning things around. Cool. All right. Oh. Looks like they didn't defend this wall very well. Ooh. Okay, bad idea. Do not catapult a wall if you've got men already on the wall. You're going to hurt your own soldiers that way. Okay, so this is where we go through the tutorial, and I'm going to use this opportunity to talk briefly about the fighting style in this game. Okay, so looking at the Warden first, the stance she's taking is actually a real stance. These look good. These are good stances to be taking. But the problem comes in with how she fights. First of all, when she's doing a block, that's what's called a static block, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. What you're essentially doing is keeping your sword in place to block your opponent's attack. The only problem with this is it doesn't open yourself up for a lot of retaliation. Usually you like to deflect or parry or shove the blade aside or bounce it off of something, you know, just try to move the sword in a way that gives you the advantage or allows you to create an opening. Now, the way that she attacks is interesting. These light attacks are actually good. They're tight and in focus. They're very good at finding those openings, and they're quick. The heavies, though, are highly telegraphed. Like, you can just see them coming. And if you can see them coming, then they're easy to block, which I'm not a big fan of. But still, I guess that makes sense in this gaming situation, because when you're in a game or something like this, you want to leave some kind of opening for your opponent to see. Oh, another thing.
So much of warfare is about walls, gates, hills, doors. Every day, battles are won and lost on the choice of battlefield alone.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of obvious. I'm surprised we even had to talk about that. Anything else? Ooh, there's one.
Almost every fortress in these lands was first built a millennium ago. We lay new construction on top of old and call it our own. We're children playing at empire.
Well, that's actually not too common, you know. A lot of castles have stood for many, many years, and so new denizens of the castle add things onto them to protect weak spots or to add archery places like that. It isn't uncommon for people to do that in the medieval ages. Let's keep moving. So, like, just adding some context here.
Reinforcements were coming.
All right, time to protect the wall. Easy enough. Yeah, see, this is why we need more protection on this wall right here. This is bad protection. Two at once, huh? All right. Yeah, it was easy. Okay, come on. Where were you guys? You just hanging out inside? Oh, I guess we'll show up now. All right, moving on. Yeah, I know about that. Okay, so we're moving on down. Looks like some stockades here. Again, where were you guys hiding just a minute ago? Just hanging out in here? This isn't even an armory. And how did these guys get in? How did you people get in here? I don't get that. How did they get in here? If they already got in here, then that means that... Oh, hello. Okay, well, at this point, the castle's pretty much lost. If they've already taken the walls, then there doesn't look like a lot of other places you could run off to. I guess you could run to the keep, but yeah, right now the castle is pretty much done. All right, moving on up. Ah, yep, see, they've already got some wardens in here. In them rightly. All right, good. So let's see, any other things? Because I don't remember where they all were. Someone's gonna get at me in the comments and say, you missed one. And I'll go, yep. Yeah, if they've already gotten this much control of the castle is pretty much done. Oh, here's one.
The fall of the last sanctuary in Ashfeld. 1,000 years have passed since then. Our ancestors held out for 6 years against 100,000 desperate, starving warriors. Or so the story goes.
It's a very well-made mural for medieval era. And hello.
The Iron Legion is made up of many smaller legions. The Lion was the leader of the Regal Legion. They were strong once. Now they have fallen to Blackstone might.
So supposedly this used to be a Regal Legion holdout, and there were different orders and knights. You know, there were different knightly orders. So this isn't unheard of. There are different knightly orders that existed, but they weren't always in competition with each other. Like there was the Knights of Malta, the Templar Knights. There were different knight orders. So this is kind of cool. I do like the fact that there are more than just one order. Let you kind of make your own order if you want. Like we created the Noble Legion for my short story.
The Iron Legion has a habit of mounting warden statues in front of doors. But they are hypocrites. The oaths of a warden reach far beyond what any common Legion warrior can live up to.
Before you ask, there isn't a lot about wardens in history, but it is kind of cool because knights are expected to uphold themselves to a high degree of honor, you know? There is supposed to be chivalry and a certain code of conduct for knights to follow. Did they all follow it? No, but there's supposed to be one.
When we stop fighting against it, nature will always reassert itself. So it is with stone, so it is with plants, with animals, and so it is with people.
Oh gosh, we're gonna have like a Planet of the Apes kind of thing. We're gonna get into the Division style stuff. We're gonna get all these plants growing everywhere. Get a weed whacker. I think we can move on now. All right. Ooh, this scene. Check this out. Okay, you got a fallen catapult that still has tension, and her answer to this is... A catapult probably wouldn't have the kind of tension needed to do something like that. But it's still funny to see. And the wall's been breached, and we have people rushing through to make a hole. Here's the interesting thing. If a wall gets breached in a real castle siege, if the defenders have time, they can try to use the rubble to reinforce it. So sometimes this wouldn't be a surefire way to lose the castle. Oh, come on. There we go. Did I kill you, dude? What are you doing back here? No need to really go into the executions. I've done that before. So we're doing some property taxes here. Is that what I'm getting out of this Daubeny? Ed. Did he just cut his leg?
Stop!
Okay, if you say so.
Daubeny! Daubeny! Show yourself!
Here I am. What's up, dude?
These warriors don't have to die. Trial by combat. Right now.
What? Fight you? That's not a trial. That's an execution.
I'll talk about this in a minute.
Then fight my second.
You will be my second.
All right, then. If I refused, there would be a slaughter.
Okay, before we start, let's talk about this trial by combat thing. This is an ancient form of trial that goes back as far as the 8th century and last ended sometime in the 16th century. And it started with Germanic peoples. The idea was that if two parties were in dispute and there was no witness or confessions to prove one side right or wrong, then they could offer a duel to the death, and that would decide who is right, because the one who is right would likely win. We see various forms of this in popular media, like a popular one is the Agni Kai stuff in Avatar: The Last Airbender, or you could even argue the duel in Black Panther. But the method is heavily outdated, and even though there's no law in the book today, even in the United States, that outlaws trial by combat, it has actually been offered. I think there was actually a case in 2012 where someone offered the opportunity for trial by combat, and it was turned down as stupid because duels were outlawed, but not trial by combat. So, hey, if you're ever feeling like you and your brother are disagreeing about something, hey, just offer a trial by combat, especially if you're the older brother and you know you can win. And that right there shows why trial by combat isn't very popular anymore. But right now, this is a decent idea. You got two armies, and Holden doesn't want to kill off all these people needlessly. So he's saying, tell you what, let's do a trial by combat. If you're right, you'll win. If not, then you die and none of these other people have to. And so Daubeny, who's a coward, goes, no, I don't want to fight you because you'll just kill me. I know you're better than me. So he says, fine, then fight my second. A second in this situation is a witness or runner-up, just in case, like, let's say that you're in a duel, right, and you become incapacitated. Not dead, but incapacitated, and you need to back up and take a breather. Your second will come in and fill in for you. Also, seconds act as witnesses so that they can be on the lookout for any foul play or any illegal moves or something, that, or they may even come in and just say, stop, 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 we're done. So he's saying, then fight my second in command. And then he turns to the warden and goes, you will be my second. And so now the seconds will fight on their behalf. So it's still a trial by combat, but the two people who have instigated it have stepped back. So pretty cool. Let's go ahead and fight this duel, and then we'll talk about the rest in a minute. Do it, okay. All right, take care of that. And he's done. Okay, let's see how this ends. So essentially the trial by combat is over, and we have a clear winner. Daubeny side won. So now Holden has to honor the agreement. But
It will not do for a knight of the Blackstone Legion to be defeated by a common mercenary.
Kiss him, you fool. There'll never be a better time.
Kneel.
No, my name is Gracie. Oh, never mind. Ah, a knighting ceremony.
For valor in battle, for honor and service, I, Holden Cross, raise you. Stand. Knight of the Blackstone Legion.
Okay, so pretty cool. He's honoring the agreement. Daubeny gets to live because his side won, but he's taking the Warden with him. That wasn't part of the agreement. Here.
We're finished here.
Because technically he won. He did win the trial by combat, so he doesn't have to die now.
Come on.
That was how I joined the Blackstone Legion.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about that knighting ceremony. So that was how you knight someone. Usually when you knight someone, you knight a squire or a page, and usually there's a big ceremony around it. But in wartime, let's say that a page or squire did really well on the battlefield. They showed a lot of bravery and did a lot of great deeds. Then it wasn't uncommon for a king or higher ranking soldier or commander to knight them on the battlefield, to just say, hey, you're a knight now, and give them that honor. And so that's what's going on here. He gave him a knightly honor, but he gave the Warden a knightly honor because she showed bravery and valor, showing loyalty to her commander, even though she knew that, hey, there was no point in this. So saying, hey, why don't you fight for a better cause than this? And he spared Daubeny. Now, some might be saying, why did he spare Daubeny? I thought you showed up to kill him or punish him. This is kind of punishment. They were still at his mercy, and the only reason he didn't do it was to show that he was honorable, to show, hey, your side technically won, so I'm going to honor my end of the agreement, but this Warden's too good for you. I'm taking her with me to join the Blackstone Legion. You can stay here in your shame, knowing that you were too scared to fight your own battle, and you lost. So pretty cool stuff. Also, I will say, just for those who are interested, knightly ceremonies, actually before the whole sword tapping the shoulders thing, you used to slap him in the face with a glove. It's kind of funny, and you can see it in certain old movies. But anyway,
be brave and upright, that God may love thee. Speak the truth, always, even if it leads to your death. Safeguard the helpless and do no wrong. That is your oath. And that's so you remember it.
Rise, the night.
So to wrap things up for this first piece, final thoughts, definitely a good start to the game with some good siege discussion. I love how they portrayed the siege, and I like the little tidbits that Apollyon added along the way. I'm sure if I missed any, then someone's going to let me know in the comment section and say, hey, you missed one part, and that's fine. Just let me know which part I missed, and I'll talk about it if I need to. I think this was a fun start to the game. I personally enjoyed looking back at it. This is a fun little blast from the past, and I'll be talking about the next part, called And Stay Out very soon. Really look forward to it. I hope y'all enjoyed this. If y'all did, please let me know in the comments section. If you didn't, then I'm sorry, but hey, I'm just trying to have fun here, trying to make this game as enjoyable for everybody as possible. So that wraps this up, guys. I will see you in the next For Honor analysis. Take care.